Hello, my name is Carl Surrey and this is a video tutorial for the Facebook group called Fans of Serif Software. Now I saw this tutorial it's a Photoshop tutorial, and this was on a CD that came with one of my photographic magazines. It's a fairly basic and quick tutorial, and I'm just going to adapt it for both Affinity Photo and Serif's earlier photo product, PhotoPlus, both of which are PC, but the Affinity Photo version will also work on the Mac. And it's basically just to make an artistic watercolor type image. That was the outset of the Photoshop tutorial which I'm adapting. But I sort of think you could make 3 different types of art images out of this, because in the first step it sort of looks like a poster. So that's step 1, and step 2 would be where the Photoshop tutorial took us, which was like the watercolor type image. And then I thought, well, you could sort of take that a little bit further and make it into sort of like an ink type image, or Asian art, Chinese, Japanese art type image. So there's 3 sort of possibilities from the same image. Now in the Photoshop tutorial, the person used an image of Venice, and so I just got this picture from pixabay.com, which is a royalty-free website, of Venice, just so we have some sort of similarity to the original that I'm sort of following. So, but basically the chap said that what you need is an image that's got quite a lot of detail in it and is quite colourful. So this is the one I'm going to use. So all you need to do is, with the background layer, you need to duplicate this twice. You can do that by pressing Ctrl and J, or right clicking this background layer and come into duplicate and then duplicate again. Now you don't need to do this, but I'm just going to do this just so you know what is going to happen. I'm going to rename this top one outline, and the middle one I'm going to rename blur. So that gives you an idea of what is going to happen with these 2 layers. So I'm going to click and highlight the top outline layer, and I'm going to come up to filters, detect, and detect edges. Now Affinity Photo is a little bit different in this respect, in that it's, when it does detect edges, it is majority black with white edges. Now the Photoshop and Elements and even PhotoPlus, it is basically white with black edges, lines. So we need to invert this. So just pressing Ctrl and I will invert this to the majority white and more like a sketch. So really you've got 4 different art images here. You can go for this would be the drawing, or it can be the outlines for a poster. So once you've got to this, we need an adjustment layer, because there may be some colours left in this. There is some faint colours in here somewhere, just there's a little brown here, but in whatever image you're using, some colours may still be showing through. So you can come to either adjustments and come to HSL adjustment, or you can do it by the layer, new adjustment layer, and HSL adjustment, and just drag the saturation all the way down to 0 to take any and all colour out, and then just click on merge, and then that will merge that into that layer. So there's now no colour and it's just a black and white image. And what we want to do now is to you can either increase or decrease the lines by using, again, another adjustment layer, but this time we're going to go with the levels adjustment. And you can, by moving the black slider, as you can see, the lines get much heavier, and the white slider, they become much thinner, and the gamma will affect it similarly via the midtone. So it's how much of a drawing effect that you want. But to help this out, it would help if I will just get rid of this and I will delete that. What you can do to help out is to change the blending mode of this now. You can do it now or after you've done the levels adjustment. If you do it now and make it multiply, as you can see, you can now see, hopefully you can see this, now sort of outlined around the outside of the objects. So if I add the adjustment of the levels, you can see better how much of an effect this is having on your image, and whether you want to have more or less outlined and making it look like a sort of poster. Like I said, you can do the changing the blending mode either before or after. I will leave that up to you, and I'm going to do mine at about roughly about there. So I've done 85% on the white, and I've just moved the gamma to the right a bit, so there is some outlining going on there. So again, I will merge that into this layer. So, and once you do merge, it does sort of lose some of its effect, but you can see, hopefully you can see that there's sort of black outlines going around this. So that could be like you've had your pencil drawing and now a sort of poster effect, although it hasn't worked so well on this image, probably because it's not as colourful, but hopefully you can see the effect that I'm talking about. But now we're going to go to look at the middle layer, and this is the one we're going to blur, and this will make the watercolour effect. So again, I'm going to come to layer, and you can, I think you can do this either as an adjustment layer or a live filter layer. We can come for Gaussian blur. Oh yeah, it's either a live filter layer, Gaussian blur, or from filters, blur, Gaussian blur. So you want an image of pixels around the 20 pixel mark, but however much you want to blur the effect, I will leave up to your personal taste, but I'm going to leave it on 20, well 19.6, it's near enough, and apply that. So again, we've now gone much more like a poster type image. But what I'm now going to do, I'm going to add another hue saturation adjustment. So new adjustment layer, HSL adjustment, and I'm going to bump up the saturation to make it much more colourful and to sort of give it that watercolour look and feel to the image. So I've gone up to about 56%. So then I can just merge that into the layer. So there you have where the Photoshop tutorial sort of finished, where they had gone for the watercolour effect. So I thought, well, you know, we could go a step further. So if you highlight the top layer and then right click and do merge visible, this gives you a single layer that has everything that you've done previously in this layer. And if I add the adjustment, you can either go for black and white, or you can go for hue saturation and take all the colour away. But I'm going to go for black and white here. So if I wanted to, I could tinker with the colour settings, you know, like make the however you want it to look. I've just made a few minor adjustments so you can see how it's working. So, and then click merge. So then you're going to sort of a more, so we're going more towards like the inky, smudgy ink type image. But we can take this a bit further by going with blur and bilateral blur, and then increasing the radius, well, not so much the radius but more the tolerance up. Get the radius down a little bit lower so give you some detail, but the tolerance will sort of give you a more smudged, in my opinion anyway, a more smudged ink type look, which was probably nearer to like Asian art type image. And then just click apply on there. So that is the end of the tutorial as far as Affinity Photo is concerned. So you can have either a pencil drawing, a sort of poster type image, a watercolour type image, or this last one, which would be the ink type image. So there's just 4 possibilities from one fairly easy to do tutorial. So I will now repeat all this but in PhotoPlus. So if you don't own PhotoPlus, thank you for watching, and I'll see the PhotoPlus users in the next section. Okay, moving on to the PhotoPlus version, and I'm going to use the same image, and it's pretty much the same process. So first of all, we need 2 copies of this background layer, so I'll just right click and come to duplicate, and I will name this one blur, and right click that layer, duplicate, and rename this one outline. Like I said, in the Affinity Photo version you don't need to rename it, I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes. So with the outline top layer highlighted, you need to come to Effects, Edge, Find All, and as you can see, this is already the white with black lines version, so we don't need to invert this. This is already the way we want it. And this is like the more pencil image. Again, there is a bit of colour in here, so we do need to lose that colour. So I'm going to come to the hue saturation adjustment and take all the colour out, and then what we need to do is to sort of merge this into this outline layer. So if I right click this layer and do merge down, that will now be part and incorporated into that layer. So we now want to change the blending mode to multiply, and I'm now going to add a levels adjustment, and from this I can alter the shadows and highlights to as I want to sort of get the poster effect, and whether, you know, how much highlights and lines that I want this to be outlined around the edges. I think I will leave that at there. So again, I will right click that layer and merge down to make that the sort of poster outlined type image. Come to the blur middle layer, highlight that, and then come to effects, blur, Gaussian blur. So again, around the 20 pixel mark is quite good. I can come lower depending on the effect that you are sort of after. If you come too high, it just loses a lot of the detail. So around the 20-ish mark is not too bad, so I'm going to click OK. Now I want to add to this the hue saturation layer, so adjustment, so I'll just click on that and now bump up the hue saturation to give it that more watercolor look. So yes, I'll put that about 47%, and then I will just right click that and merge that down into that layer. So that would be the end of what was the Photoshop tutorial. But again, if we want to take it a step further to make the ink Asian type image, you highlight the top layer and click merge visible. Now, unlike in Affinity Photo, it will not make a flattened version above all the other layers. It will just make a flattened version and lose all the other layers. But this is not a major problem because this is where I want it to be anyway, so I'm not going to go back and make any alterations. So now we just need to add the sort of blurring effect. Now PhotoPlus doesn't have, from what I've seen anyway, a bilateral blur, which I used in Affinity Photo, but I did find that surface blur worked quite well, and in fact what I should have done, I should have made this black and white first. Let me cancel that and go to the black and white adjustment, and again you can make adjustments this way to suit the look that you are after. Yeah, that will do there. So again, I will merge that down into that layer, and then I will add the surface blur. It's easier to work out sort of the sort of ink type blur effect that you want to have if it is in black and white. Well, I think it is anyway. So yeah, that's a much more hazy sort of ink type image in my opinion, so I'll just click OK on that, and so there you have a pencil drawing, a poster type image, a watercolor type image, and a sort of ink type image, just from using different layers and different effects added. So hopefully you will give this a go, be it in Affinity Photo or in PhotoPlus. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.